A rock the size of a fist comes off a low ridge of dead grass and hits the driver's door of a 1956 Ford pickup truck with a sound like a gunshot. That is how it starts. Not with a confrontation he walked into. With a confrontation that came looking for him, thrown by someone barely tall enough to see over the truck's hood. The road runs along the edge of a tenant farm outside Bakersfield, California, in the dry months of March 1957, when the Central Valley has not seen real rain in 11 weeks, and the topsoil has started to lift and travel in thin brown sheets across the flat land whenever the wind picks up. The truck belongs to Wade Coltrane. He is driving it himself, no studio car, no driver, because he is between pictures and staying at a ranch 40 minutes east, and likes the look of this particular stretch of road in the late afternoon. The way the light comes in low and orange across the irrigation ditches. He is 6'4", 220 pounds. He has spent the better part of 30 years building a career on a particular kind of stillness. The kind that makes audiences believe a man can be enormous and dangerous and never need to prove either fact out loud. Off camera, that stillness is not a performance. It is simply how he is built. The rock leaves a dent the size of a dollar coin in the door. Coltrane stops the truck. He does not stop it hard. He does not throw gravel doing it. He brings it to a normal, unhurried halt, the kind of stop a man makes when he has decided, in the half-second after impact, that whatever just happened is not an emergency, even though every instinct in a smaller man might tell him otherwise. He gets out. The boy who threw the rock is standing at the top of the ridge, maybe 30 feet away, and he has not run. That is the first strange thing. Boys who throw rocks at trucks belonging to enormous strangers generally run. This one stands there with his arms loose at his sides and an expression that is not defiant and is not afraid. It is something closer to exhausted. He is 9 years old, narrow through the shoulders in the way boys are before they finish growing into themselves, wearing a shirt that has been mended at the collar more than once. His name, though Coltrane does not know it yet, is Daniel Holt. Coltrane walks toward him the way he walks toward everything. Not quickly, not slowly enough to seem hesitant, at a pace that communicates, to anyone watching, that he has already decided this is not going to become something ugly. He stops 8 feet away, close enough to talk, far enough that the boy does not have to look straight up to meet his eyes, which Coltrane has done on purpose, dropping his weight slightly onto his back foot so the angle is easier on a 9-year-old's neck. He says, "You want to tell me why you did that?" The boy says nothing. Coltrane says, "I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to grab you. I'm just going to stand here and ask you again. Why'd you throw the rock?" The boy's jaw works for a second. Then he says, "Because you're rich and rich people don't care, and I wanted somebody to care for once even if it was about a stupid truck door." It is not the answer Coltrane expected. It is not an answer most men would know what to do with at all. He doesn't respond right away. He looks past the boy up the rise to a farmhouse with a sagging porch roof and a yard with no animals in it and a clothesline with exactly 4 shirts on it, none of them large enough to belong to a grown man. A man is standing on that porch. He has been standing there since the sound of the impact carried up the hill, and he has not moved to intervene. And the reason he has not moved is that his legs do not entirely work the way they used to, a fact that becomes obvious in the particular stiffness with which he holds the porch railing. Coltrane looks back at the boy. He says, "Your father." The boy says, "He fell off a rig in Taft in November. He can't work right now. He says we're fine, but we're not fine. And yesterday a man came and put a notice on our door. And I don't know what a notice is exactly, but I know what my mother's face looked like when she read it. And I have been so mad for so many days that I didn't have anywhere to put it. And your truck was just there." Coltrane is quiet for a long moment. What he does next is the part of this story that the boy's father, watching from the porch with no understanding yet of who is standing in his driveway, will describe for the rest of his life as the moment he learned something about the actual shape of decency, as opposed to its reputation. Coltrane does not lecture the boy about property, about violence, about the difference between anger and the right to express it however it lands. He says only this: "Your anger's not the problem. Where you aimed it was off by about 40 miles. He nods toward the house. "That door, that notice, that's the target. Not my truck door. Mine I can fix with money I don't think twice about." He crouches down slightly, not all the way, just enough to close some of the distance. "Yours is harder to fix. Let's go see what we're dealing with." The boy stares at him. Coltrane says, "I'm not asking. I'm telling you what we're doing next. We're going to walk up that hill, and you're going to introduce me to your father, and I'm going to find out exactly what that notice says." They walk up the hill together. The boy does not speak. Coltrane does not fill the silence with anything performative. He simply walks at the boy's pace, which is slower than his own, and matches it without seeming to think about it. The boy's father, whose name is Russell Holt, watches the two of them come up the rise with the particular dread of a man who has spent the last several weeks watching every form of authority arrive at his door to take something from him. He has no reason to believe this will be different. A very large stranger walking up his driveway with his son is not, in Russell Holt's recent experience, the beginning of a good afternoon. Coltrane reaches the porch first. He says, "Mr. Holt, my name's Wade Coltrane. Your boy put a dent in my truck door about 10 minutes ago, and he had a better reason for it than most men have for the things they do." Russell Holt does not know what to say to this. He looks at his son. He looks at the dent that is not visible from here. He says, "Finally, I'll pay for the damage. I don't have it right now, but I'll pay for it." Coltrane says, "You will not." He says it the way you correct a fact, not the way you argue a point. "Your boy told me about the notice on your door. I'd like to see it if you'll let me." What follows, over the next several minutes, is not generosity performed for an audience because there is no audience. There is one witness. There is a father on a porch who cannot fully stand without help, a boy who threw a rock out of a grief he did not have language for, and a very large man reading a foreclosure notice on a kitchen table with the particular focus of someone calculating exactly how much a problem costs and whether he can afford to make it disappear. He can. He does not announce the amount. He does not turn it into a speech about charity or fortune or what it means to give back. He writes a number on the back of an envelope, hands it to Russell Holt, and says, "That clears it and gives you 6 months past clear." He looks at the boy. "And that road out front. Next time you're that angry, you come find me and throw rocks at something that isn't somebody's truck door. I'll stand there and let you yell at me instead. That costs less than a windshield." It is in its way a joke. It is also not a joke at all. Russell Holt, sitting at his own kitchen table holding an envelope with a number on it that will keep his family in their house, does something he has not done since the accident in Taft. He puts his face in his hands and his shoulders move, and the sound he makes is not loud, but it is unmistakable, and his son stands next to his chair with one hand on his father's back, not entirely understanding what just happened, only understanding that the worst thing that has happened to his family all year has, in the space of 11 minutes, stopped being the worst thing. Coltrane does not stay to watch this. He has already turned toward the door by the time Russell Holt's composure breaks. Not because he is uncomfortable with the emotion, but because he understands, in the specific way that some men understand without being told, that a father's tears in front of his son are not a moment that benefits from a witness who does not have to be there. He says, on his way out, "Get that door looked at when you're back on your feet. No rush." He drives the dented truck back to the ranch. He does not mention the afternoon to anyone there. The dent stays in the door for the remaining 4 years he owns the truck, and when people ask him about it, in the rare cases when anyone notices, he tells them he hit a fence post and leaves it there. Daniel Holt does not see Wade Coltrane again for 11 years. When he does, it is in a hospital waiting room in Fresno, where Coltrane is visiting a sick friend and Daniel Holt is a 20-year-old Army private home on leave, and the recognition takes a moment to land on both sides before it lands completely. Daniel Holt says, "You probably don't remember a rock and a truck door." Coltrane looks at him for a long moment. Then he says, "I remember exactly which fence post I told people I hit." They sit together for 40 minutes in that waiting room. Daniel Holt tells him that his father walked again, eventually, with a cane and a permanent list to the left, and worked a desk job at the same company for the next 9 years, and never once let the notice or the rock or the envelope come up at the dinner table. Because some debts are not the kind of family discusses, they are simply the kind of family lives inside of gratefully for the rest of their lives. He tells Coltrane that his mother kept the envelope. Not the money. The envelope, with the number written on the back in pencil, in a drawer in the kitchen for years, as if it were a document of some kind, which in a sense it was. Coltrane asks what happened to it. Daniel Holt says, "House fire in '63. Lost most things. Lost that too." Coltrane is quiet. Daniel Holt says, "Doesn't matter though. I didn't need the envelope to remember what was on it." What Wade Coltrane understood, on a dirt road outside Bakersfield in March 1957, Watching a 9-year-old boy stand his ground after throwing a rock at a stranger's truck was something that the loudest version of strength never quite manages to teach. That the most dangerous men are not the ones who answer force with force, but the ones who can absorb a blow, ask one honest question, and choose, deliberately, to spend their power making something whole instead of making a point. He never told the story publicly. It does not appear in any interview, any biography, any of the thousands of pages written about him across a 50-year career built on roles where men solve their problems with their hands. The truest thing he ever did with his strength is also the thing almost no one knows he did, because the entire value of the gesture, to him, was that it never needed